The whole social scene changed, and there was a lot more activity on the campus, a lot of house parties. Uh, Interesting enough, the law in Ohio changed. It used to be an 18-year-old state, and that changed. And that meant that a lot of people that could go to Newark or Columbus or wherever and legally get low beer, 3.2 beer, that's all stopped. So for a combination of reasons, the social scene centered on the row. And there were huge parties in this house and other houses. And there would be Friday and Saturday nights where there'd be 300 and 400 people here in this house with kegs. And it really got to be a pretty wild and woolly scene.
The basic three pillars of all fraternity systems, fraternal or friendship bonds, academic achievement, and philanthropy, basically are dynamic in that they shift of importance to the Greek members. So way back in the day, academic excellence and philanthropy were paramount to the social aspects of the fraternity. And during, as time continued, these three pillars shifted. The basic problem was that social became paramount to academic achievement and philanthropy.
Denison told Sigma Chi in the other chapters in 1990, gentlemen, you're in trouble and you need to look at this and deal with it.
Alcohol became a major problem with the fraternities. And here, I can't speak for the other fraternities, but I sure believe I can speak for Sigma Chi. Here at Sigma Chi, we had one alcohol-related problem after another.
The fellow who was provost at that time, Charlie Morris, who he and I happened to be in school together, and Charlie was a Phi Delta and provost of the college, and he stood up in Swayze Chapel and said to the community, there's problems there on the row and we need to deal with it. For 4 or 5 years, no one seemed to pay any attention, and that whole situation just festered. And I think the board and the senior leadership at Denison just finally ran out of patience and said, if they're not going to take care of their problems themselves, we're going to act.
Fraternity members were asked to leave their houses as residential sites or dormitories and disperse amongst the non-Greek residential life or residential houses across campus.
The 18 months or so prior to that, there was a great deal of discussion and conversation about what's the answer to this. Do we abolish fraternities, Denison, just not have them? Do we put them on notice and say you've got a year to correct A, B, C, D, E? How do we handle it? And there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration and tension. And this decision was reached. And by the way, it was not unanimous on the board. It was pretty close, just a small majority.
Well, the alumni reaction remains, particularly from people that are my age, because they knew what a great experience it had been for them personally and how it functioned, and it functioned very well.
Well, that started there was a huge backlash to that. And if you look at the newspapers, the Advocate and the Sentinel and and Columbus Dispatch, there was all but a riot right down here in the circle. And furniture was burned, and it was nasty. And State Patrol was here, Granville Fire Department. It was a very, very explosive situation.
In order to make the transition back to residential life, I think primarily it's gonna first involve a recognition and understanding of the actual events that led to us getting off or moving to a non-residential system, first and foremost. And I hope to at least provide that information by the end of my term. Secondly, it's gonna have to involve a dynamic restructuring of the pillars that I discussed earlier. We're gonna have to basically move back to the roots of what fraternity life used to be, where philanthropy and academic excellence were paramount to and more important than the social aspect of a fraternal bond.
We have to be ready to do that. Those men living here would have to be most willing to take on the responsibility for, maintaining this place and safeguarding it and living responsibly and, that's, I think somewhere in the future, I would hope so.
There are a lot of campuses in the country that have that model. We happen to be one of them. We'd prefer to be the best non-residential fraternity and sorority community in the country if we can get there.
Them being on Denison's campus as opposed to sororities is different as well. Denison has more control over what goes on in the house. It's how everything is run there.
There's just an awful lot of work that needs to be done on the part of both the university and the fraternity system to bring things together to enable that to happen.
I feel like it's already starting, but it's going to require a lot of effort and a lot of dedication to recognizing what got us kicked off and just moving forward from that in a positive way.